Have you ever taken a moment to ponder why Veterans Day holds such a significant place in our hearts and calendars? It's more than an annual observance, it's a heartfelt tribute. Today, we delve into the origin, the history, and the essence of Veterans Day. To understand the importance of this day, we must first take a journey back to the end of World War I. The year was 1918, and the world was in the throes of a conflict that had claimed the lives of millions. The Great War, as it was known then, was one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. But finally, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the guns fell silent. The armistice was signed, effectively ending World War I. This momentous event was greeted with jubilation across the globe. The world had witnessed the horrors of war on an unprecedented scale, and the ending of the conflict was seen as the dawn of a new era. A year later, President Woodrow Wilson declared November 11th as Armistice Day to honor the brave men and women who had served during the war. Armistice Day was initially a day of parades, public meetings, and a brief suspension of business activities at 11 a.m. The day was dedicated to the cause of world peace and to honor the veterans of World War I. However, after the devastating events of World War II and the Korean War, there was a growing need to acknowledge the contributions of veterans of these wars as well. In 1954, under the leadership of President Dwight D. Eisenhower, Congress amended the Act of 1938, and Armistice Day became Veterans Day. It was no longer a day to honor only those who had served in World War I, but a day to honor all veterans from every war and conflict the United States had been involved in. November 11th was chosen as a day of remembrance because of its historical significance, marking the end of a war that had changed the world forever. The journey from Armistice Day to Veterans Day is a testament to the evolving recognition of the sacrifices made by our veterans. It's a day set aside to honor and remember those who have served, those who have fallen, and those who continue to serve. And so the 11th day of the 11th month became a day of honor and remembrance. From its inception as Armistice Day, the 11th of November has evolved into something much more. As the world moved on from the First World War, so too did the meaning behind this special day. What started as a solemn remembrance of the armistice signed between the Allies and Germany, marking the end of the hostilities on the Western Front, gradually transformed into a broader commemoration. The first significant shift occurred in the United States in the mid-20th century. A World War II veteran from Alabama, Raymond Weeks, had a vision. He saw the potential for Armistice Day to honor not just those who had fallen in the First World War, but all veterans who had served their country. He took this idea to General Dwight D. Eisenhower, who supported the concept wholeheartedly. Weeks organized the first National Veterans Day in 1947, 2 years before Eisenhower became president. However, it was during Eisenhower's presidency in 1954 that the official transition from Armistice Day to Veterans Day took place. Eisenhower signed a bill into law proclaiming the 11th of November as Veterans Day. This was a day to honor American veterans of all wars, not just those who had lost their lives in World War I. It was a significant change, reflecting the reality of a world that had seen a second, even more devastating global conflict. It also recognized the contributions of a new generation of veterans who had served in World War II and the Korean War. Yet, the spirit of the original Armistice Day was never lost. The 11th of November continued to be a day of remembrance, a day of gratitude, and a day of honor. Only now it was for all those who had worn their nation's uniform in times of war and peace. Raymond Weeks continued to lead the National Veterans Day celebration in Alabama until his death in 1985, earning the Presidential Citizenship Medal in 1982 for his efforts. Thus, Veterans Day, as we now know it, was born. But what does Veterans Day truly represent in today's world? As the years roll on, the significance of Veterans Day has only grown stronger. This day is not just a moment in history, but a reminder of the sacrifices made by countless brave men and women It's a day to honor those who've served, those who've fought, and those who've given their all for the freedoms we enjoy. In the hustle and bustle of our daily lives, we often take for granted the liberties we have. We forget that these liberties were paid for with the courage and determination of our veterans. Veterans Day is a time to remember that our way of life was shaped and protected by those who answered the call of duty. But it's more than that. Veterans Day is also a day for education and understanding. It's a chance to learn about the hardships endured by our veterans, to understand the depth of their sacrifice, and to appreciate the strength of their character. It's a day to reflect on the lessons of leadership, resilience, and commitment that our veterans have taught us. It's a day to show our gratitude. We owe a debt to our veterans that we can never fully repay. But we can express our thanks. We can show our respect, we can honor their service and remember their sacrifices. And Veterans Day is a day for unity. It's a day when we put aside our differences and come together as one. We unite in our respect for our veterans, in our gratitude for their service, and in our hope for a world of peace and freedom. So, as we mark Veterans Day each year, let's remember its true significance. Let's honor all our veterans, not just those who have fallen. Let's appreciate the freedoms they've fought for. Let's learn from their experiences. Let's express our gratitude. And let's come together in unity and respect. Veterans Day is not just a day off from work or school, but a day of gratitude and respect. So, how do we as a nation celebrate our veterans? Veterans Day, a day marked with solemn respect and vibrant celebrations, sees the United States come together as one to honor those who've dedicated their lives to serving our country. From coast to coast, there's a medley of activities and events, all aimed at expressing our heartfelt gratitude to these brave souls. One of the most visible ways we celebrate Veterans Day is through community parades. These are not just any parades, but grand processions of pride and honor. They are filled with marching bands, floats, and most importantly, our veterans, old and young, walking with their heads held high. And then there are the poignant ceremonies at war memorials, military cemeteries, and public squares. These ceremonies provide a space for reflection, respect, and remembrance. They often involve the laying of wreaths, the playing of taps, and moments of silence, each second ticking by in tribute to the lives given and the sacrifices made. But Veterans Day is not just about grand gestures. It's also about the small, personal ways we show our appreciation. Many Americans take this day to volunteer at veteran centers or send care packages to those serving overseas. Others spend the day with veterans in their lives, listening to their stories and saying two words that mean so much: thank you. Schools across the country also take part in the celebrations, hosting assemblies and classroom activities. For our younger generations, this is a day of learning, a day to understand the true cost of freedom and to realize the importance of service. And of course, there are the countless flags that flutter proudly in the wind, a sea of stars and stripes, each one a silent salute to our veterans. So you see, Veterans Day is more than just a date on the calendar. It's a day of unity, of reflection, and of gratitude. It's a day when we take the time to recognize and thank those who have risked it all for our freedom. On Veterans Day, we unite as a country to express our gratitude to those who have served. So, as we reflect on the history and significance of Veterans Day, we are reminded of the bravery and strength that has been exhibited by our nation's veterans. From the initial establishment of this day, we've seen its evolution and how its significance has grown over the years. Today, Veterans Day is not just a mark on the calendar, it's an opportunity to remember, to honor, and to thank those who have sacrificed so much for our freedoms. It's a day to recognize the courage that pulses through the veins of every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine who has ever donned a uniform. Let us take a moment to appreciate the sacrifice of our veterans, the real-life superheroes who have stepped forward when their nation called. Their courage, their determination, their resilience. These are the qualities that make them extraordinary. Qualities that we should aspire to exhibit in our own lives. Veterans Day is also a moment for us to reflect on our own roles. How can we honor these heroes in our everyday lives? Perhaps by showing kindness to a veteran we know, or by teaching younger generations about the sacrifices that have been made for their freedoms. It's a day when we can all come together, regardless of our differences, to express our gratitude to those who have served. It's a day to remember that the freedoms we enjoy are not free. They have been paid for with the courage and sacrifice of our veterans. Remember, each time Veterans Day rolls around, it's not just another holiday, but a day to honor the bravery and sacrifice of our nation's heroes.